Hi, I'm Damian Benders, GM of B Code Media, a division of My Code Media, multicultural media and marketing firm. I'm very excited to be here today with Martin Ekechukwu, who is the Chief Strategy Officer for Aframe Brands. Welcome, and we're excited to have a nice chat today, a nice quick chat about everything marketing, multicultural, and talent-led brands.
Really happy to be here, man.
I'm excited. You've built a pretty incredible career across everything from spirits, entertainment, now consumer goods. Can you share some of what's been the driving force for you, right? How do we get here to this place and this kind of work?
You make a lot of mistakes, unfortunately. That's what happens. You have a bunch of stumbles, have a bunch of learnings, but you have a people that really lift you up the entire time. So I've been really fortunate that my entire career trajectory has all been in things that I'm really passionate about. So I'm passionate about media, I'm passionate about supporting and building brands and products for underrepresented groups. I'm passionate about creating content that really speaks to the hearts and minds of our people and how we look and things that we love, and trying to change sometimes the unfortunate perceptions by others. So my career has really been all about testing and learning a bunch of things, and I've just been really very, very, very fortunate to fall forward every single time.
It's exactly the right direction to fall in. Well, tell us a little bit more about Aframe Brands, what your charge is. What's the goal with the company?
Well, I mean, listen, the 5-cent version of this whole company is that we found a problem in the market that was unaddressed for underrepresented, underserved groups. Unfortunately, the vast amount of products that are created for underrepresented, underserved groups are not tested on us, thought about us. It's all like, oh, we'll just make it fit into that particular cohort that we're going after. So we said we're going to change the way that normal business is done. We're going to hire diversity from the beginning, making sure that we have an incredibly diverse audience and staff that we're actually catering to and also work with us. Mm-hmm. At the same time, we're really going after issues that have never been addressed. For example, our Nami Osaka brand was going after solving issues around melanoma and education around melanoma for people of color. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, people of color have a 3 times greater mortality to melanoma because of unfortunate gap in education. So we're really trying to fill that gap with as much education as possible. And oh, by the way, here's a product that's made for you that doesn't have a white cast, that has this mineral based and is not chemical based, and allows that information to be passed on from us to them, with Naomi as being a partner and a founder. Same thing with that's Kinlo. Same thing with Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade. We created a baby brand that really focused on kids of color under 5 and issues around eczema, because unfortunately eczema has a 300 to 500 times greater issue for people of color than non. And the same thing with John Legend's brand with Loved One around moisture loss. Mm-hmm. So moisture loss is 500 times greater for people of color because of our squamous cell makeup. So as a result, we come out with stuff that really helps to address these issues from the gate.
So you said a number of things that are really interesting about sort of the journey, and also like sort of the purpose behind how you are working to develop the products. I know a lot of people who are marketers would also be really interested to be working with celebrity to have that advantage, right, when they're working on their marketing campaigns. What do you think is the key to effectively leveraging that kind of talent?
Frankly, and I say this often, you have to let talent literally be talent. You can't expect talent to be marketers. You can't expect talent to be, some sort of an operator. That's not what. Let them literally be exactly who they are. Let the creators be who they are, and leverage them and their skill set and their passion and their love for a particular category, and extract it. Because you're the marketer, you're the expert. Yeah. Extract that stuff. Also, don't expect your talent to be the expert. Get an expert that goes along with them, right? All of our brands have a black dermatologist associated with them that designed all the stuff, designed all the ingredients, custom made with our talent on what they wanted. And we let the talent be passionate about it and bring people towards them. The last thing you want to do is to try to put talent to a box, because you don't get the best out of them. And as a result, it'll hurt your brand in the end.
You mentioned a couple of times that you putting together diverse teams to work on these brands that are serving underrepresented audiences. We do that as well, working in the multicultural marketing and advertising space. We think it's really important to include and amplify and empower, right, the executives and team members that are really trying to serve the community and have not only that affinity but also that experience. when you are putting together the teams, what are you really looking for in terms of their level of insight or authenticity when it comes to the cultures that they're trying to serve?
We actually look for just incredible shared lived experiences, things that they bring to the table. You may not have gone to Harvard Business School, but you spent 30 years in a ingredient house, in a flavor house, in something at the end of the day that gives you so much more experience that you would never get by paying a few $100,000 at a business school, right? So it's that thing we're looking for. What's the thing that actually sets you apart, makes you special? And something that's ownable just by you because you've done it yourself, right? We've actually worked with a lot of people, and frankly, I don't even have, thankfully, I love the degrees that I have, but I actually don't look at people for the pedigree anymore.
Right.
I look at them for like, what have you done and you bring to the table that I can't get anywhere else? And a lot of the times it happens that people of color will come to the table. It's like, I don't have that degree, but I've been doing this for 30 years.
Right.
You're like, well, that's enough for me. So let's go. So a little bit of that. So I try to make sure that it's a balanced approach. You always need someone that are very seasoned operators, but they're people that you just want to be able to just say, you guys are incredible. I don't care what the fact that he didn't have a degree. It's like, incredible. Let's do it.
I love that. You mentioned authenticity before, and it's one of the questions I had was about how important that is, right, for the multicultural space. The audience really can tell when it's not authentic, right? And you know, I like what you said about letting the talent be talent. It can really feel sometimes like brands are popping up every couple of minutes, right? When with respect to celebrity. So how do you approach making sure that there's that connection, that there's that authenticity and relevance?
At Aframe, we really focus on the problem. Like, what problem we're really solving? If I tell you I'm going to make a new coffee cup, you can be like, why?
Right.
What's that for? But if you tell me, and this is personal to me, it's like, hey, Martin, we've found a way to reverse alopecia. I'm like, yes, please. So it's like, okay, let's go for it, right? So that's a problem that we're solving out the gate. And by looking at it from that perspective, then you're hitting the emotional context for people. Like, how is this affecting me and my issues and my challenges? And so as a result, you ultimately bring people to you without having to market to them. You tell them, we have a solution you can, for you right here. If you remember those commercials late at night, if you're up at 2 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden something pops on TV, some infomercial, you buy it because they're hitting me. Like, I need that in my house.
I wanted that.
Man, I needed the little doohickey for the doohickey.
Right.
I needed the little thing for the thing. I didn't even know I needed it. But you told me that's a problem that I have, and I do have it. So it's like they figured it out, and we're just taking that little learning a problem and bringing it to life.
I like that idea of problem solving, right? Like, there's you can never go wrong actually providing a solution.
Oh, yeah.
Right. You lead strategy, right? You're constantly on the pulse of what is happening. You've been doing this a minute, right? And you've seen a lot of things in the space. I'm curious, just in terms of your own evolution. What was one of the first product launches or campaigns or something that came around with a brand that you were like, this is interesting, and I want to do stuff like that?
Frankly, it was actually my first job post business school that told me that I really wanted to be in it. So I was a part of a rotational class at Toyota Motor Company where they took us from strategy, experiential, operations, and production. And so I spent 6 to 9 months in every single role over like 3 years, being able to really understand exactly how things operate. And there was one particular, I got into production, the product marketing production, and we were working on the brand new LS 400H, which was the first of its kind luxury hybrid vehicle ever. And I was like, how did y'all even think about doing that? Right. It's $180,000. Who's going to buy it?
Who's the audience?
Who's the audience? Where's the strategy for this? How did you figure this out? And how did you sell it in? How did you get people to sign off on it? And I was part of that team. It was very early in my career, but I was part of that team of doing it. And I'm on the phone with Japan. I'm doing and I was like, I like this. This is like really amazing to me to be a part of this thread of the concept all the way to seeing it launch. And then I was responsible for making sure the vehicle showed up around the country. So make sure the dealers are putting it in. And I had a list of like thousands of people signing up for the car. I'm like, where are these people coming from? So it really taught me that there's like an insight of understanding, what's the thing in that pulse, that moment that people are really begging for, and how do you connect the product that hits that particular insight? And once you do that, the results speak for themselves. So that's why I loved kind of circling back to problem, in that while we're not solving a problem with a $180,000 vehicle, right? There's no problem I'm solving that. We're solving the problem of people that have a decent amount of money saying, I want a new car. That's really dope. That's fine. But to circle me about to the core, which is their problem is not my problem.
Right.
My problem is different. Yeah. Now my problem is just as important. So it kind of, it's all been a thread ever since that first day back in 2005.
There is something sort of magical about the beginning to the end,
yes.
Right? Seeing that process all the way through. It's a similar story, but I fell in love with them on the media side. There was this idea of kind of developing something from absolutely nothing, right? Wait, we're gonna make a movie, right? Kind of an idea. Yeah. And there's something that I think that a lot of people in this space fall in love with about that kind of gestation to execution and it coming together. So it's a really sort of interesting story. What are you most excited about for within Aframe in terms of what's next? Or what are you incubating at the moment?
Can't tell you what I'm incubating, but what I'll tell you is that we've learned a lot. We've only been around for 3 years, right? 3 years, raised a little over $20 million. We've really put our money where our mouth is. We've hired right. We've got some amazing people, and we've done some things successfully. I think that what I'm most excited about is that people are seeing our superpower, and they're seeing the fact that we can solve problems. And we're getting calls from pretty amazing retailers to private label some stuff for them, right? Nice. So now working on things that solve problems within their ecosystem, because they have a consumer that's walking in the door and they don't know how to address them, or their pathway to innovation is too long, right? I mean, I can cut that in half and get you to market quicker, because as I do on the media side, you might miss that trend. You might miss that. You're going to miss that moment, and then you bring something out 2 years later, you're like, what?
You missed it.
You missed it. Sorry. So we're trying to shorten that amount down, and so that's what people are asking us to do now.
That's pretty interesting. I think you mentioned earlier that you talked about putting a scientist with your talent. How much of the process of sort of developing the product, and in addition to bringing it to market, is the company involved in?
Literally every single step. We have a full-time product development team. We've got a full-time scientist team. We have incredible contract manufacturers that we work with, and even the talent is on for every single step of the journey. Amazing. So they see all the samples, they test it all. We do internal research, external research. All those things is what we kind of fall into. But yeah, we are so involved in all of it. It's actually kind of scary. It's like I can spit out some numbers and spit out, it's my third squamous cell that actually feels really good. Something like that, right? But it's interesting. But yeah, we're very, very deep involved.
And you're testing the products for yourself,
absolutely,
right?
All the time. I'm telling you, come out with an anti-alopecia product, I'm the first one on the line. I don't care how dangerous it is.
You're like, I'm gonna try that.
I'm gonna try that shit. Sorry.
I'm sure you're having you have all kinds of range of different folks you're dealing with, right? Like talent teams, the talent themselves. Tell me about setting expectations. How do they're like, I'm gonna solve this problem. Yeah. I'm gonna create this opportunity. I'm gonna create this business. How do you go into setting and managing expectations with them about what their business can be, right? How much they can make, the way we're gonna do it, how much has to be invested. What's your special sauce for getting them on board and aligned?
Honestly, we don't have too much onboarding alignment with them, because we really look for talent that has intrinsic motivation to do it, right? We're not selling them. Once I've developed my concept and I know what I want to go and create and build, I start shopping it, and then I start shopping it to talent that say, this is personal to me.
Right.
I've lived this life. I've had that problem myself. I really want to make that work.
Gotcha.
And so all of our talents, at the end of the day, I don't have to do too much there. What we have to do is, going back to what we said earlier, is like allowing the talent to be talent. But we really bring best in class operations to the table. Like we are very clear about what our structure is and what the goal is and what our deal flow is and what we're trying to get out of it, the exit terms. So we're not coming into it just sort of haphazardly. We have a templated process that we use for all of our talent. They are equity owners and partners and everything. We're 50-50 joint venture owners in all the brands. So as a result, our relationship is really set. And so we really come into it as a marriage. I mean, some marriages are great, some marriages are a little tough to be able to kind of work through. But ultimately, you're still making it, pushing ahead as much.
And we're committed to the same goal.
Exactly, committed literally to the same goal. But from a talent piece, we've had to say no quite a bit because talent really wants to make it happen and go after it. There's a particular talent that's extremely popular globally, and we had to unfortunately say no because we couldn't find the problem we were trying to solve.
That intrinsic motivation.
It wasn't there.
To make it happen.
It was like, they wanted to do this, and I was like, but why? It's like, well, because I wanted to do it for and I was like, yeah, but no. We're not interested in doing that.
Well, and also they can find somebody else.
They can find somebody else to do it because it was going to take us a lot of time, and I'm always looking for what's the downhill approach? Right. I want to be. There's already enough uphill.
Generate momentum.
Exactly. It's like just enough there. But it's like I want to look at a downhill approach, and if I'm always going to be, I guess I would say, if I'm always having to justify the thing that I'm doing to whoever it is, it's like no. So because I can go into the room and say, we're trying to solve this problem that affects 300 million people. Right. They're like, oh, duh, that makes sense. And we're just like, I'm trying to create this thing. Like, okay, why? We think we like it.
It'd be nice.
It'd be nice. It'd be cool. We should do it.
I like that approach, and I think there's something also compelling about the guardrails it puts around, right? Like how do we make sure that there's consistently a purpose, right? And that we're always doing what we mean to be doing, which is solving a problem for the audience. So I'll ask this, right? I mentioned before that there were a lot of brands, right? And you were sort of alluding to it here. There's celebrities that want to just pop up, and do things. What's your take on how saturated the market is, right? Particularly for multicultural, underrepresented audiences, et cetera. What's your outlook about that?
There'll be a lot of consolidation. There's some softness happening in the market already, unfortunately. So there's some brands we're getting calls about some brands that are not doing so well. Thankfully, we're not in that same position. I think that the unfortunate piece is there's a lot of fragmentation in the market, and the consolidation is coming. You'll find some people picking up bits and pieces of what exists in the market right now. Because if we look at everything as a whole, P&G, Unilever, whoever, they have a gap that they're trying to fill, right? They don't necessarily know how to do it, but they're also sort of like watching and seeing who is doing it. Right. And do you have enough of an audience base for us to come in and just pick up something at fire sale? So that's kind of where we're going to find ourselves shortly. I think celebrity-led talent brands, we're fortunate because all of our celebrities and talent, they have the intrinsic motivation, and there's something that's tied back to a problem that they can easily, describe and discuss. Right. The ones that don't have that thing are the ones going to fold.
I get it.
At some over time, because no one's going to be saying, "Oh, this is amazing." I mean, let's look at some of the biggest pop stars in the world that have tried to do some things, and it's not really worked out.
Right, and those brands don't exist anymore.
They don't exist anymore, right? So it's like, if you think about the reasons why, because there's no solution problem that they're trying to solve with that product versus just putting it out there and saying, "Here you go," because I'm amazing.
Right. Okay. They're putting their name on something.
Yes.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to speak with you this afternoon, and I'm incredibly excited to see what's next for Aframe, and looking forward to what you do next.
My man, appreciate it.
Thanks.